Hi, everyone. My name is Desiree. I am the founder of NESSBehavior Consulting, a behavior agency based in Long Island, New York. We service Nassau County, Suffolk County, Queens, and Brooklyn, New York. NESS Behavior Consulting is a behavioral agency, and we provide support for educators, students, and families with children with special disabilities, specifically autism. So today we have Miss Veronica Bernard. She is a third grade math teacher at Harlem Children's Zone, and she's going to just share with us some of her experiences and tips for remote learning during COVID-19. So, Veronica, can you tell us what your typical day looks like teaching from home?
Hi, everyone. So my day usually starts at exactly 7:45, where we have a whole staff meeting with the school that is led by the principal, where we talk about different announcements or whatever. And then class starts at 8 a.m. From 8 to 8:15, we have social emotional learning, where we discuss different topics, how the kids are feeling, maybe do a little brain break, be in touch with themselves and what's affecting them and everything that's going on. And then class starts at 8:15. So my first class is from 8:15 to 9:40. That's my first set of students, where I have 24 students. And then from 9:40 to 10 o'clock, there's a break. And then my next class is from 10 to 11:30. Then we break again. And then from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, we have office hours, where the students are able to come and get extra assistance. We provide assistance to students and or to their parents as well during that time. And from 1 to 2, we have prep time, and then we have another meeting.
Okay, so it's like a combination between staff development and student engagement.
Yes.
It's well balanced. How many students do you have?
I have 48 students, 2 sets of 24.
Okay, so you have a full day, and you're still creating lesson plans every day. So it's like you're still working every day, but you're just teaching from home.
Yes, right? Nothing has changed. The expectations for the staff and the students have remained the same. Just our environment has changed. And I think I find myself doing sometimes a bit more work with learning from home, working from home, because of making sure to have the proper resources so that they're still able to get proper education.
Right. So you say that nothing has changed, right? And I know as an educator and representing, just it's your job, you're still fulfilling your job. But for families, a lot has changed. So you have some families who are struggling to get access to a computer, to use the computer effectively, to be available. How do you deal with that? Getting everyone on board? What has the process been since third quarter of the year to now, where we're actually in the fourth quarter of the school year? What has that transition been like?
Well, it was very difficult at first because, everything was so new, a lot of paranoia. My school actually had they were able to put a lot of things in place for families and for the students. All of my students have laptops. The school made sure that they had the technology to meet the needs of the remote learning environment, provided hotspots to families to make sure they had internet access, and also provided services and outlets for the families going through these mini changes, where that they have someone to reach out to, financial services, social emotional learning services, all of that for the families as well as for the students.
So there's really no excuse to go to class.
So that, in the beginning, it was a little trouble getting everyone on, but now I have about 98% to 100% attendance.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Come to class. So what usually happens is they have a lot of the support service staff where they're like on the phone all day, contacting parents, contacting students, and making sure they are on. We have our IT people working. So if laptops are not working, they're in contact with them and the families to make sure everything is up and running for them.
Right. Okay. How has, so you have a system, the school district has a system in place to ensure that there is parent involvement and parent engagement. So that's good to know. I know that New York City is one of the largest body of students. So, do you think, and just from your perspective, that all of the schools are pretty much on the same page, and the expectation for students have been the same across the board in your area?
I would say I know for sure it hasn't. Um, Many schools have received packets where they're online maybe once or twice a week with the teachers.
Wow.
I know some schools, they're like changing the grading requirements for the students. Not all students have access to technology like my students do. So I would say my kids are receiving a different type of education, a more balanced and effective education than other students because of, the different circumstances and the different needs of their districts.
Right. So what do you think that what do you think that creates for next school year? Let's say that we are going back to school. What type of issues do you think that districts have to be prepared for?
I feel like it's going to be a lot of playing catch up, you know,
Right.
especially if a kid is moving from school to school, if they're promoting these students and what the teacher in the next grade has to do to bring that child up to speed because of
Mhm.
the gaps from COVID-19.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty that's what I was thinking too. Even like some children fear of getting left behind because of the situation. I don't know if that is a reality, if that is something that is being discussed, or what exactly is gonna happen next year. I know we don't even know, but like, what is the conversation now to prepare our kids for next year?
I think it all varies based on the districts. I feel like that's like a controversial
General,
topic
yeah.
because if you're not providing my child with a proper education, how could you like really leave them back? But then
Right,
you're providing my child with all the resources needed and a proper education. And the only thing that's changed is the learning environment. I'm giving you everything to be successful, and you're not meeting me in the middle. Then yet that's a different conversation. But I think there's a lot of factors that come into play when I'm discussing retention for these students next year.
right.
Um, and we don't even know what next year is going to look like because there hasn't been like any like specific concrete decision as to what September will look like yet.
Right. Okay. So I just wanted to get a like a background field. So what does class time look like with you? How is your classroom set up? How do you keep your students engaged and completing assignments on time?
So we start the class. It's so crazy because the structure is literally the same. Like I've had people visit my classroom and they're like, "Oh my God, I feel like I'm still in a classroom setting with you." Like my kids,
Right.
the expectations has not changed. So we do the lesson. So whereas we would have like small groups in the classroom, we break out into breakout rooms, which is like separate little rooms where the instruction is much smaller. And assignments are literally like I'm communicating with parents, like I'm on their back. If they don't do their assignment, like my assistant is calling them, "Hey, your child didn't hand this in. Hey, they."
Right. Right.
So it's literally about having consistent and constant communication with the parents in order to make sure my kids are successful.
Right. From an ABA standpoint, right? So we think about behavior and we study behavior. So right now, I noticed that a lot of the kids that they're at home, they want to stay up late. They are on their phones, their video games, and then struggling to get up in the morning to get to class, right? And for some people, for some homes, it may be difficult for families to kind of promote that structure in the house just because the dynamic has changed and there's so much going on. So I always tell my clients to try to implement some sort of visual schedule and keep a schedule from Monday through Friday. For example, like class, if your child is getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a typical morning before COVID-19, that they should still be getting up at that time, getting ready and being in class. What did you say? 8:15, 9 o'clock?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. So definitely 6 o'clock, wake up and be ready for class at 8 o'clock. I think that that's important to still have that schedule in place now because fourth quarter is almost over. Summertime's going to be here. Let's say that we are going back to school in September. We're going to have to train our kids now a whole new behavior on how to get back on task and prepared for school in September. So I can just imagine the struggles that educators are going to have come September, whether we're back in school or not. And that leads me to my next question about behavior consults, working with behavior consultants. So in a school setting, a behavior consultant would typically come into your classroom and strategize with you about lesson plans, and not necessarily lesson plans, but classroom management, right? And how to facilitate your lesson plans, embedding those classroom management skills. Now that we are on a virtual platform, how do you think a behavior consultant could help you managing behavior on a virtual platform?
Well, I think a behavior consultant is super important because you could be one of the greatest educators content wise, but if you really do not have excellent behavior management skills, your kids are, at a disadvantage because it's hard to manage the classroom. So I feel like, especially in this environment, it's good to have experts, right? That know exactly what they're doing, that has resources that has been proven to work, and that is looking forward to collaborate with you. I feel like a lot of times people are just like, well, we're going to do this my way. But I feel like a behavior consultant is there to collaborate with the general education teacher or special education teacher in order to meet the needs of the students. I feel like, especially with my students with disabilities, sometimes it can be super difficult, to find things that works with them and that are able to meet their needs. I know for some of my general education students, this whole platform is just too much for them. So I can only imagine for the students with disabilities of, how it's affecting them, especially if there is nothing else that that you could put in place to assist them.
Right.
So I feel like a behavior consultant comes with those resources, with strategies, come with those like expertise that's like, hey, try A, B, and C. If this doesn't work, you could do this. And they're not looking to change your program. They're looking to add on to it, to modify it in order to meet the needs of their students. So I feel like that is always a plus to the classroom environment.
Right. Something that I wanted to touch on, I know that you do have a special education background. How many out of your 49 students, how many students do you specifically teach for special education?
Well, in my regular classroom, I teach all my students. So my SPED students are a part of those students as well. They receive regular instruction, and then they're pulled by the learning specialist, special educator for outside the classroom sessions. But I do see other special education students that I see in a much more smaller group in a different grade to meet their needs of their IEPs.
So how do you address those IEP goals? Do you address them one-on-one, or are they in a generalized platform?
Well, so it's in a small group setting, and it's only about like 5 students and just me. So I provide additional support outside of what they receive in the classroom. So basically, I take a look at the foundational skills needed to reach the skills that they need in the classroom, and then I modify it so that they can have a better understanding of it. But, I do find myself having difficulty. I'm not even going to lie, because it's hard, where it's kind of like, I don't feel that I have the necessary resources whereas as if I was in a classroom that I could meet the needs of my students with disabilities. I do feel like I need much more training and much more resources to be able to meet the needs of those students that has disabilities in the remote learning environment.
Yes. Okay, I agree. What NESS Behavior Consulting is actually doing is we're actually putting together care packages for some of our students who are having a more difficult time transitioning to remote learning, specifically our kids with special needs, specifically autism, because that's our audience. That's where we focus. So I just wanted to show you briefly that these are the boxes, the mailer boxes that just came in, and we're going to be sending them out very shortly. And inside these boxes are a bunch of goodies, you can see. So when you open up the box, you will see your shield, which is a face shield. This is how it looks. Put it on like this. What I like about this face shield is that a lot of our kids who have sensory issues, they don't necessarily want the mask touching their face or like around their ears. So this still provides some level of protection. So I really like this face shield. And it's good for when families are going on a walk, or, you know, you're going to the store, you want to put this on. Some of our guys who tend to put their hands in their mouth, this may be a good replacement those behaviors. Sorry about that. Other things in this box, you will find a make it your own design mug, just something fun to do in the house. You have Play-Doh, just simple things.
That's so like, you know, it's so thoughtful.
Scented candles, they're handmade.
Nice.
For those who do prefer to wear masks, we have included a cloth mask that can go on top of surgical masks that really have the layers to protect. But this is cute, it's fashionable. We have also included, NESS is partnered with Vaseo, who sells CBD oil. And it's been really good for relaxation. So what we have is we've taken a sample of this, because you can't put the whole box in the bottle. Right. And if you do prefer, you can just try it out and see if this is something for you. And every box is different. So we plan to send these boxes out in about, I'll say 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm really excited about it. And I really wanted to share that with you. So if you have any students in mind, you can definitely let us know, so that we can get them on that.
That is so awesome. Okay. That is not something I've seen yet. I've seen, like, you know, making care packages.
Having some trouble hearing you. Okay, so I'm just having a little bit of trouble hearing you, Veronica. So until we get that figured out, I just wanted to show you guys the website. This is a GoFundMe page where you can donate to the COVID-19 care package. We encourage you to donate to this fund, to share it on your social media. If you know any business or individual who's making products at their home that would like to donate to the care package, anything helps, and it's just great. So you can just send us an email at info@NESSBehavior Consulting, so you know exactly where to send those materials, and it would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so back to you, Veronica. I hope we were able to get that sound fixed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. I'm so happy. I don't know what happened, but I'm happy that we were able to get it fixed. So definitely, if you have any students who you're currently teaching that would benefit from this package, please, send us their information. If anyone is watching this video, you can link. You can send us your information, write a comment, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. But back to you and your students. You said that you are meeting your special education students who have IEPs outside of the classroom. What are some of the like more like a 5 group instead of a 25, right? So what are some of the difficulties that you're having in those smaller groups that you've had to kind of overcome?
Definitely, I would say the different learning styles and trying to find resources to meet those different learning styles. I feel like, even if I find apps, right, and manipulative them to like maneuver around on the screen, sometimes that's difficult because maybe the screen is just not their thing. So trying to find resources to help in the remote learning environment. Because if this becomes the new normal, we do not want our students with disabilities just falling by the wayside. Oh, we can't find any, I don't know what to do. So I kind of feel like I need the assistance, and I need someone, with everything else, especially me, because I'm a general educator as well, and also a special educator. So I feel like being able to be given those resources, or being able to give like a little like, hey, check this out or do this, or
Right.
from someone, is so much easier than to be like, okay, I gotta find all these things. So I feel like it's definitely finding resources and strategies to use in the remote learning world to make sure my students with special needs are successful.
Well, that, you know what, that is a really good point, and that is why behavior consultants are so important. I think that families should be reaching out to their BCBAs, if they receive any type of ABA therapy, that they should still be seeking it, even though it is an adjustment into remote learning. Educators and professionals are trying their best to learn and go forward with this new normal. And as you know, as an educator, children who have IEPs or 504 plans, the same way that they can learn new skills, they can learn negative skills. For some children, once they're receiving an abundance of reinforcers for inappropriate behaviors, it just becomes a pattern. Like, it takes a very long time to now unlearn those negative behaviors. So that is, I could say, is one of my biggest tips, making sure that there's structure in the household, regardless of the situation that we're going through, because it is very difficult to unlearn those negative behaviors. So schedules are visual schedules in the house for each child. If you have multiple children on different grade levels, could be very important to promote independence and to teach organization skills, and just take ownership and responsibility of what it is that they are supposed to be doing, and
I
give them options. Give them options. So a lot of our kids, they don't like being told what to do. So you can give them options and get the teachers on board too, so that you can continue to bridge that gap between home and school. So if it is class starts at 8 o'clock, maybe give your students an option of having math or their preferred subject at that time, and allowing them to choose. I don't know how possible that is with your workload, but I think that could be fundamental for some of your students who are on the spectrum or have an IEP.
I agree. I feel like structure is super important, and them really being able to see that, the only thing that has changed is the environment. So,
Right.
keeping the schedules, being consistent. I feel all those things really, really work for them. Knowing that if it starts at 8, you're there at 8. Now we're changing time and we're changing like that. Those things don't work for them. I feel like once a structure is placed and they become, just like, like you were saying, you learn negative behaviors. Once they start getting in the groove of things and they're like, they're
Right.
stuck to this like schedule and they're consistent with it. I feel like following that in school and at home and making it all one, like you said, I feel like that is super important. That is one thing that's going to help them succeed in this new normal.
Right, right. So I just wanted to thank you so much for just sitting with me today and doing this interview. And I hope that we can come together again on a different occasion to provide step-by-step instruction on some of the things that you're working on in your classroom. Before we leave, though, is there any other tips that you can give our viewers to get their children motivated and keep them motivated while doing remote learning? Because not only are we doing remote learning, we're also quarantined, so we have to stay in, we're very confined when we're in the house. The environment plays a big role in behavior. So yes, it's just the environment that has changed, but we don't change people. We manipulate the environment that thus changes the behavior. So the environment is a huge thing. Maybe I'm not accustomed to working in my bedroom. That's where I sleep. So how do you take that and make that a positive? Are there any other tips that you can give us today?
Well, in addition to being an educator, I'm also a parent, and
Okay.
I find that, as parents, patience is hard, but it's super. We and I feel like it's also trying to find the time to do some things with your kids, right?
Hmm.
Working out together. Like I purposely will give my students a project on the weekends, right? Something that they definitely do by themselves. But I tell them, hey, try to do it with a family member, try to do it with a sibling, something that shows some type of like collaboration with each other. Because like you said, you're confined in this area in your home, like you have nowhere else to go. So doing something positive with the people you are with, parents, definitely keep in contact with your teachers, with your admin staff for your students. My biggest thing is do not suffer in silence.
Right.
If you have concerns, if you have questions, if you don't know something, ask, because, as educators, we don't know. So we're just moving and moving and moving. And unless we're solving questions and concerns, we're just going to keep going. So definitely reach out to the people that support your children in school, outside of school, and use your resources. There are a lot of things out there. Definitely take advantage of them.
Yes. And NESS Behavior Consulting is also here we give consultations. If you have any questions, you can definitely feel free to reach out to us on our website at www.nessbehaviorconsulting.com and subscribe to our mailing list. You can contact us through there or just email us directly at info@nessbehaviorconsulting.com. We want to hear from you. We want to know what your concerns are, and we want to be able to meet those needs and solve those problems with you. So again, thank you so much, Veronica, for being here today. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.